Hey guys, with the upcoming release of Justice League the Theaters, I thought it would be fun to go back and have a look at the DC Universe Classics Wave 8 Parademon. Let's grab the old tape measure and get some measurements going for Parademon. He stands a little over 6 inches. To be exact, he's closer to about 6¼ inches in height. The Parademon was actually a figure I've never reviewed and came to us from the Giganta wave. It's actually one of the few waves that I didn't get a chance to pick up. And unfortunately, going on to eBay now, the prices are astronomically high. So much so I probably will never get a chance to review that wave unless I can find them for a decent enough price. In the meantime, we have Parademon here, and I think somewhere in my collection I've got kicking around the Superpowers version of Parademon. If I can find him, I'll do a review of him as well. In the meantime, your collect and connect piece, it's not something I've said in a very long time, your collect and connect piece for the Parademon is the arm for Giganta. A bare arm, yes, but it does have some additional shading there as well. It doesn't rely solely on the coloring of the flesh plastic. And I also like the copper coloring of the bracelet here that they've got on her wrist. Posability on this, it's got your universal joints, and you got your hinge in the elbow, and a rotation in the hand. Doesn't look like there's a hinge, but all we're going to be able to look at for Giganta, well, I'll just put that to the side. Parademon also comes with some pretty cool looking weapons. Well, actually, we'll look at this one here first. Comes with like a smaller blaster. And I don't know if you can see it, but they've actually even sculpted in an area in which its fingers can fit around it. Actually, a nice touch to that. And that just fits over the hand. The hand guard, as you can see, fits right around the finger area. It doesn't quite line up, I guess, if you have it a little bit further down, but then it spreads it a little further away from itself. But, yeah, I like that it's got that little bit of a guard there. There's also a peg point. Let me just pull this off for a second. There's a peg point, but I can't seem to locate. See, it's right there. There's like this little notch. I thought it might actually peg in somewhere on the Parademon, but up to this point, I'm unable to find it. I checked the leg. I checked the back of the leg. I checked the waist, which normally would be the place, and I also checked the leg. Not unless there is this little peg, doesn't really attach to anything, it's just there for decoration. Speaking of decoration, you got some gold added to there as well, which adds a little bit of extra oomph to an already yellow blaster. And I think it actually looks pretty good. I think my possible go-to, though, weapon-wise, will not so much be this one, but will be this pretty cool, give him this stand, this pretty cool blaster. It's kind of like a rifle, but it also separates itself to like a clubbing mace that has this blade on the end. So you can actually have him holding it as a bladed weapon, or you can attach it, making sure you get it the right way, you can attach it like so, and it looks like you can use it more like as a rifle. There's points actually on the side, or depending on which way you have it facing, on the bottom or on the side for him to hold it, and he actually holds it perfectly fine with both hands. As much as the other one had the additional decoration, this seems to have a lot more extra coloring, a little bit of that kind of copper color mixed amongst the gold plastic. That actually looks quite nice, even though there's a very noticeable China written across the blade portion there. It still actually looks quite cool. And you can just put it into his hand. The hardest part is actually just trying to figure out which way you want to have it. Again, you can kind of have it this way, angle the hand like you see here, and you can have him holding it more like, again, like a rifle or blaster, so to speak. Let's go ahead and take that off, and we'll put that over there as well. The Parademon is a fun-looking figure. This would certainly be the type of figure that you would want to get an army build going for, and somewhat surprising, to no surprise, I actually picked up more than one of these. I think I actually have 2 or 3 of these, one of which I know is already in a sealed package, similar to this guy. This one was opened up for this review, but the other one I've still kept sealed. I think my long-term plan was to eventually have the Parademons displayed along with the likes of, you know, the Steppenwolf and of course Darkseid. Which, speaking of which, for size comparisons, we'll just get him to stand upright, and we'll bring in the Collect and Connect version of Darkseid. You can see there's a considerable height difference, as it should be, between the Parademon and Darkseid. This would be ideal, again, if you had 3 or 4 of these Parademons that you could have, you know, around Darkseid battling the Justice League. So very, very cool, even if I drop it. Okay, so let's have a look at the figure itself. First things first, let's have a look at his face, which has a very, very iconic, very classic look design to it. I love the look of the Parademons, slightly hooded, masked, and they have these goggles along with this antenna that sticks out from the front of the head. The sculpting on the face is actually really good. I like the combination of browns, slightly muddied beiges that they used for the face, and I also like that they got the grimaced teeth in there as well. Majority of his color relies on greens, lighter and darker shades, yellows, and a little bit of the gold colors there as well. Generally, yellow, you always know, can be hit or miss when it comes to plastic figures. Parademon's pretty good for the most part. Granted, yes, there are areas, I'll show you right now, there's areas in which the colors don't quite match up. This part here and this part here are clearly different yellows than the ones used for the gloves, the boots, and especially here, ooh, yeah, it gets a little muddy, a little messy there. He's got way, clearly it looks like he's been painted there versus cast in the yellow plastic. You can even see here, the paint has scraped away, showing the green reveal underneath. Yellow also gets a little sloppy around the interior of his shoulder, these little shoulder cuffs, these shoulder rings that he's got on his suit here. But the interior, yeah, it doesn't look like it was finished all the greatest. The greens are actually pretty good. I don't really have too many issues with it. It's really more so the yellows that become the big problem here on this figure. As you can see too, he's probably got one of the more complex sculpts in the regards that he's not using a lot of previously made builds for these DC Universe figures. Clearly, with a lot of DC Universe figures, they're making use of very similar molds a lot of the time and relying solely on the paint to get the point across. Here, not quite the same. You've got some nice sculpting here incorporated into the thighs. Brand new boot sculpts, complete with the blades sticking out from the sides of the boots. The threadings across the tops of the boots, those are also sculpted in as well. So brand new boots, brand new legs. The skirt appliance is not a separate piece, it's actually a sculpted lower torso. That's brand new. Top torso also, that's new. But the only thing that probably could have been reused is the forearm, using the more cuffed glove, the little jet pointed area of the glove that sticks up like that. But it's a really neat looking figure. You got the wings on the back as well. And again, like, he really comes together. From the back, he actually reminds me more of a Masters of the Universe figure. And then when you spin it around, you obviously see a Parademon. Articulation on this guy. Now, this is unfortunately where he's a little limited. Granted, yes, he has articulation on the head, but he doesn't have really a ball joint to speak of. His head's always sort of angled upward. It never really faces forward. And if you have the figure facing, you know, towards you, you can see his face, but you can see it's always kind of angled more so upward. He's got the torso crunch as well as a waist swivel. Universal joints on the shoulders. Now, when you move the arms outward, you'll see that there's this kind of sculpted additional piece that's on the shoulder that does limit the arms moving any further up than that. A rotation all the way around. He's got a swivel there at the top of the shoulder, actually rather than the bicep where they usually are. A hinge in the elbow, and a rotation and hinge. Well, no, that's not true. I'm a liar. He's got a rotation in the wrist. Then when you get to the legs, split on the legs, forward and back motion there, a bend at the knee, nothing in the boot, and he's got articulation in the feet. To further add to that, he's got peg holes on the undersides of his feet. I did sort of cheat. I have to come clean. I did sort of cheat, and at the beginning of this review, I used a DC Universe display stand. He doesn't actually come with a DC Universe display stand. I just brought one in at the beginning of this review. One thing I can also add to this figure is, unfortunately, I just opened him. I literally just opened him and started reviewing this guy. And I noticed his joints are already loose, which is unfortunate and one of the problems that DC Universe figures tend to have. But they tend to have them a lot later on in your collection. You don't, hopefully a lot of times when you do get a DC Universe figure, they don't tend to be loose when you get them initially out of packaging. Unfortunately, Parademon is a little on the loose side, but he still holds his poses, as you can see. He does have a lot of really cool accessories, 2 really neat blasters, and I do like that the one it detaches, should you want to maybe use it more so as a clubbing weapon. It's unfortunate, though, that as a collector now, going back and trying to pick up some of the little misses that I got along the way, Giganta, the Giganta wave, was one of those waves I really did want to get, and now going back and seeing the prices of what they're going for, it makes me really struggle at, ooh, do I want to pick this up for a review? Ultimately, I'm probably going to try to wait and see if I can find them at a more cheaper cost. Certainly the Gentleman Ghost being one of the more expensive figures from this wave. But let's not talk about the Giganta wave. Let's talk about Parademon here. Granted, yes, he's a little on the loose side. Those joints are a little loose, but I do really like the sculpt on this guy. Between the two, I prefer this mold myself over the Superpowers mold variant, which was also part of this wave, because this one fits better with a dark side, which I'm going to have on display along with the Parademon. I may potentially open up the other one and have 2 on either side, or 1 on either side of dark side, and display them like that. Or what I might ultimately do is hold off, keep that other Parademon in the packaging, and knock on wood, maybe when I get the other figures, maybe from the Giganta wave, I'll try to do it as an entire series of reviews. Good looking Parademon. Really like that I was able to pick it up initially before the prices of these guys skyrocketed, and definitely wanted to have a look at this guy leading up to the release of Justice League. I'm so excited. I have to admit, I am more a DC guy than I am a Marvel guy. I am super, super stoked to see the new release of Justice League. Can't wait for that. In the meantime, today we were having a look at the DC Universe. This was the Giganta wave, and this was the Parademon. If you guys haven't had a chance yet to subscribe to this channel, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below. You'll never miss a beat when it comes to future videos. Many more videos certainly will be following this one, so stay tuned for those. And as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.